We are going to talk today about creating a smart API using Laravel. We're going to look at Laravel commands so we can learn a little bit about Laravel. We're also going to do some AI-assisted coding, which is an awesome way of doing things as well, right? Just a quick thing about myself. My name is Hans Bakaris. I currently work as the VP of Technology for the Signature Real Estate Companies. We are a conglomerate of real estate brands across South Florida. So we have represented about 35 brands. We do a ton of technology, which is why we need a VP of Technology right there. I've been doing tech for over 25 years. I've done everything. I've architected systems, created systems from the ground, from zero all the way to end product serving thousands of users. I've led teams that did everything from training to support to development to security and maintenance. I've guided technology transformations. We used to do consulting, and I've actually done migrations of COBOL code to Python code, which is was a very interesting project that I did one time. I have recently always started doing agentic AI integration into business workflows, which is really cool to see how fast and how amazing AI is transforming the landscape. And I'm extremely worried about what that means for the world, because the acceleration of AI is insane and it's very difficult to predict. And anyone that's telling you what's going to happen, it's guessing, obviously, and most of them are hoping that whatever they're telling you is going to happen is what's going to happen. But the reality is, we don't know, right? I mean, there's signals and there's indications of what might happen, but honestly, it's very difficult to tell. So why do this talk today? Why we want to talk about PHP and Laravel and all of that, right? So most important, one of the things that you see everywhere, especially if you're on LinkedIn, you cannot get 3 posts before they are literally shoving AI in your face, right? How vibe coding and the death of the developer and the death of the SaaS and the SaaS apocalypse, and how Claudebot is now is my team that does all my sales for me, and all of these crazy things. And it's a little bit out of control. It's a little bit of obviously there's a lot of hype, right? But there are differentiators here in the industry. Yes, there is a good chance that as we move forward within the next year to year and a half to 2 years, developers are not going to be writing a lot of code. They're going to be writing 0 code. We are going to be doing other things. And those things are going to be orchestrations, making decisions about what models to use and how to use them, how to deploy them in our workforces. We're going to be deciding on infrastructure, because I would not let an AI decide on infrastructure, because the AI doesn't have a credit card. I'm the one with the credit card, so I'm going to decide where to spend my dollars, right? Deployment, workflows, security, and maintenance. All of these things still need someone making a decision that acts like an adult in the room. And AI definitely never act like the adult in the room. It acts like a petulant child that wants to do what it wants to do, and it does it very fast, but it often veers off and does whatever, right? So that's the part where we still need to be able to figure things out. Understanding that underlying infrastructure is going to be extremely important. This is kind of sort of the piece of knowledge that I'm hoping to leave you guys with today. If you know what's happening under the hood, that's going to be the difference between being an engineer and being an alchemist. You know what the alchemists were doing, right? Back in the day, they were trying to turn lead into gold, but they had no idea why or how. They had no idea of the underlying chemistry that was necessary and how and why that was never going to happen. But they kept trying. They kept looking for it, right? It's like, oh, this is the thing. This is what we're going to do. That's what a lot of people with AI are doing today. They're working like alchemists. They are promising things, and they have no idea how to get there or if it's even possible. But if you understand these things, then you are the engineer, and you're going to be valuable to your organization. You're going to be valuable to your peers. You're going to be valuable to society, right? So I think that's probably the most important thing. So let's talk a little bit about what the objectives are for today. We are going to be using, first of all, PHP, and we're going to be using Laravel. Why PHP? Well, PHP is still the most used language on the web. 80% of the websites on the internet today use PHP on their backend. And it's not just because it's legacy code, because it's old code, because whatever. It's because it's strong, because it's versatile, it's scriptive language, it's fast, very easy to fix, very easy to maintain. It's extremely powerful, and therefore it's still being used, especially now with Laravel, that is already on version 12, has become even more powerful because Laravel has created this beautiful infrastructure that allows you to very quickly understand any project that you look at. When you look at a Laravel project, you have very specific spots. The organization is very clear. We're going to learn about that organization today, okay? We are going to be using Docker and Sail. If you're familiar with them, you understand why we're using them, right? Because
I don't want to install.
Well, not only that, but a lot of cases, they're like, well, I could just use my npm start, right? npm start and my app works, yay. Or composer serve and my app runs, and then you put it on the server and nothing works. Then you wonder why. It's just that 6 libraries, the version of PHP, the version of npm you had, and then you had to do nvm use, and then you have to figure all of this out every development cycle. Docker allows you to create a container that looks exactly like your server. Or if you're doing Docker deployment, then your Kubernetes or whatever, that's whatever you say that, is going to be exactly the same thing. So it allows you to centralize and define exactly what your environment looks like, so you don't have to have the right version of PHP. You don't have to, again, you don't want to install PHP on your Mac, which is shameful, to be quite honest, Damon. But
you asked. It's already on there. It could be already on there.
Yeah. Now we're gonna use MySQL and Redis for the backend. Why? Because we can. It doesn't matter. Laravel is so beautiful in the abstraction of the data layer, is so agnostic that it actually doesn't matter. We could be using MySQL and switch it halfway to Postgres, and then switch it to big data. It won't matter. Laravel simply handles the transaction without a problem. And we're gonna use Redis for caching, simply because you want to develop your container with caching in mind. Not that we're gonna use caching today, but your app is going to take advantage of caching and other things like Octane and things like that on the server. So we want to make sure that those things are at least present, so when you are developing your app, you don't run into issues regarding those things. A few other things we're going to be using today. Sanctum. It is a system that Laravel has incorporated for establishing security for APIs. So the security for your API comes built in. You don't have to worry about it. It's done. You don't have to think it up. It use better tokens or whatever you want. Sanctum is one of the models. There's other models that are also embedded into Laravel that you can call in and use. They are way more advanced, but we don't need anything more than Sanctum today. We're going to use MailPit to simulate sending emails, because we're not going to spend all the time today trying to set up Mailgun or SendGrid, but those are easy enough to set up. And again, Laravel is so beautiful at this that just by doing one switch, the entire system automatically starts sending emails wherever you want them. So today we're going to set them up for MailPit, and when you go production, your definition in production could be using Mailgun or SendGrid, and makes no difference in the code. The code looks exactly the same, which is a very nice thing. We're going to use LM Studio for our LLM inference today, because our app includes talking to an LLM. Why? Because we can. And I don't want to pay for tokens, so we're going to use local. Although I was just told today that we get free tokens with GitHub. So take advantage of that if you're, And then we're going to use some Gemini Pro on anti-gravity to do our development. It could be Gemini CLI, it could be Copilot CLI, it doesn't matter. We're going to use some AI coder to help get all of this done. So our objective today is to build a containerized, token-secured, smart API. What does that mean? We're going to send it a message in natural language. The API is going to use an LLM to understand what you mean, and then it's going to take an action on a system. That's what an API does. APIs are still one of the most important things, and if you are developing apps today, you are probably developing an API, or you should. You have a nice little app that you develop for your phone, right? Oh, the app on my phone is so cool. Where is the data for that phone? API. It's on a server. And the best way to get that data in and out is with an API, and you should have some security, otherwise your API is going to get blasted. So what we're learning today is basically how to deploy that backend, that strong, beautiful backend for your Node.js, for your React native app on the front end, right? We're also going to we're going to interpret natural language, as I mentioned, and we're going to showcase professional Laravel ecosystem usage, which is really cool. All right, guys ready? Beautiful. Very quickly, I just mentioned it, but this is the architecture we're going to have. We have our client, that's us. It's an app, it's a website, it's whatever. It's sending a message to what we're building today, which is the Laravel API. That's the core, right? That is going to use an orchestration LLM system, which could be OpenAI, could be Gemini, could be Azure, whatever. It's going to be an LLM system to understand these messages, because the person that's sitting here could be sending voice. Let's say that your app reacts to voice. You don't want to, let's say you don't want to respond to that voice on the phone. You just want to send the file and then use Whisper on your LLM to turn that into knowledge. Fine, so you can use it. So that's beauty. You can connect to this orchestrating system naturally and do whatever. It's vision, it's video, transcription, whatever it is. And then that's going to go to another system, which in our simulation case is a smart home system that has some lights, some switches. So you can imagine this guy is going to put a voice or a text message that says, hey, turn on the lights in my kitchen, or whatever. Turn on the AC on my kitchen. This is going to understand what that is. It's going to figure out what device should be, and then it's going to activate that device. Now, this is going to be a simulation. We're just going to have a database that simulates that status, right? But this would be potentially another API. This could be a system that is calling out to another API, like HomeKit or Home Assistant or Google Home or Alexa or whatever it is, to actually do the other control, right? But it's transparent for us because we don't care today. Yep. All right? Okay. Now, this is all the crap you would have to do it by hand on Laravel, right? So you gotta have a few things on your computer. You gotta have Composer. You guys know what Composer is? It's like NPM. It's one of those systems that helps you install stuff, okay? So you do a Composer, you're gonna create a project, Laravel, and you're gonna give it a name. We're gonna give it the name Smart API, right? Then after that, we're gonna go into it, and then we're going to use PHP Artisan, which is like the Laravel way of doing commands. Artisan is like the guy that controls the commands in Laravel. When you go to laravel.com and you look at the documentation, everything is going to be a PHP Artisan something command, okay? And learning those commands is as important as being able to look them up on the website. So honestly, it doesn't matter, right? So we're going to do a PHP Artisan install. We're going to install Sail. Sail is going to be the one that's going to orchestrate or help us build our Docker container and keep it up to date. So we are telling Sail to use a MySQL and Redis and Mailpit, which is what we said we were going to do, right? So install a Docker container and give me all of these little services. Just put them there on the Docker container so I can use them later. Beautiful. Then we're going to use a command with Sail that is going to start that Docker container, right? Then after that, we're going to use install API, which installs that Sanctum thing we talked about. So it installs the API system and the better token system that adds the tokenization to it, blah, blah, blah. I know I'm talking very fast because we're going to do something else in a minute. This is all the stuff you would do.
The Artisan looks at a script that you have?
Oh, yeah. No, this is all included. This is nothing I built. Yeah. This is all Artisan commands that does on its own. So when you do
one of your scripts in there, like
no.
Is Artisan like?
No, this is built by them. This is included in Laravel. We're not using anything that I've built so far. It's just commands that are available for Laravel users. And then we're going to use something called make model, which creates a model of a table. So in Laravel, a model is a representation of data. Okay? And my model is going to be a device, and -m also means built a migration for it. And a migration is a code way to represent a table, okay, in data. So we're going to see what that means in just a moment. And then we will go more stuff, a few more commands. We're going to create a seeder. A seeder is how we're going to build test data to add to my devices. And then we're going to run the migration so that it actually connects to whatever database was connected and runs the whole thing. And it sounds like a lot of work.
Yes.
All right, so how about we do this? We just do a prompt. We're going to tell AI the following prompt. You are a senior full-stack architect specializing in Laravel 12 and Docker environments. That's the role. The task is going to be build a complete smart building API system for Laravel 12 Sail application, infrastructure and requirements. We're going to tell them what database, what caching, what mail, what security. And then the core components, we're going to do a migration for a devices table with ID, name type, is active, last command, timestamps, whatever. a device seeder that creates 4 devices. We're going to ask it to include a kitchen AC, just because that's the easy test that I built and I don't want to read, I don't want to type anything today. So we're just going to do it that way. And then the LLM service. We're actually going to take advantage of something that Laravel also does, which is create services, which are like middle layers that help to communicate and to direct traffic. Then we're also going to build a controller. This is the same thing that we're talking about, right? The controller is like the brains of the Laravel app. So that's where the decisions are going to be making for the devices. So the device controller is going to be the one that accepts that slash devices or slash execute, that is going to be the command, right? And it basically figures out, accepts a natural language string, like turn off the kitchen AC, it must call the LLM service, update the database, and trigger a notification. That's what it's going to do. So when I stay on my app, turn on the kitchen AC, it's going to use the LLM to figure out what that means, and then it's going to trigger that change, okay? And it's also going to give us the ability of getting the state of a device, which is something you could do. Notifications, it immediately sends an email saying, hey, this happened, right? That notification system could be whatever else. It could be push notifications, it could be whatever. Today we're just going to do email because it's easy. And finally, we're going to ask it to provide clean, production-ready code for migrations, models, the LLM service, controllers, resources, and the routes API PHP. So that prompt will build the entire API. So it's going to do all of those commands that we just saw. It's going to run all of these commands, but it's also going to actually write the code, which the commands didn't do, right? So it's going to fill all that up with code. So let's do it. Yeah, we're actually going to take a look at that in just a moment. So let's go ahead and let's switch to anti-gravity. I have my smart API already built in. Over here on the right-hand side, you chat with it. Again, this could be your Gemini, CLI, could be your Copilot, could be your, what's the other one? Your Open Coder, your Claude Code, your whatever. Just take that prompt and run it, okay? And hopefully...
I don't have Laravel installed. I need that, right?
Composer will install Laravel for you. So what you need to have is Composer. So let's see, it might ask me for some authorization, so we'll stay attentive here for just a moment, okay? But while it does that, let's take a look at this. This is roughly what we're expecting to get, okay? In a Laravel project, there's a few things that you can always be guaranteed to see. Number one, you're going to have an app folder, and within that app folder, there's going to be all of your HTTP controllers, right? We should expect to have an API controller that is going to be called something. It could be called the execution controller, the device controller, whatever. I think we asked it to be the device controller, so it might be called device instead of execute control, right? It's going to have some name. So there's going to be another area within the app for models. That's the representation of data. So there's going to be one for the devices because we asked it to have the device, right? There's going to be another area for services. That's where we're going to install that LLM service that reaches out. There's going to be a database folder, and in database folder, there's going to be two things. One is the migration. The migration is going to be the system that creates the table in whatever system you're connecting to, MySQL, Postgres, whatever. This is a code descriptive way of talking about that table. We're going to take a look at that as well. And there's going to be a seeder, which is what fills the data with table. And finally, among other things, there's going to be another folder called routes, and that's where you define the endpoints that your app is exposed to. So it's receiving in slash whatever is defined within that API. Does that make sense? So the beauty of Laravel is that it's so structured that without seeing what the AI is going to create, I can tell you it's going to be something like this, right? And it's always something like this. So when you open up a Laravel project, you immediately go to controllers, you know what the brains are. You go to routes, you'll see what the routes are. You go to services, you know what you have available to yourself. You go to databases, you know what the tables are for that system. It's beautiful. Oh, okay, I already did like everything here. All right, so let's just go ahead and accept all. You don't care, right? Okay, so it created the migration, it created the core services, it created the API layer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's like an IDE for Google Gemini. This is Google's version of VS Code, essentially. All right, so it looks like it didn't do the installation of my of the actual composer here. Let's use this one. This one was the one I when I was practicing, I created this one. It's the same stuff, right? So let's take a look at what we were just talking about. Let me just sit down here for a second. So we had our execute controller, right? Let's close the API, the AI path. So one of the beautiful things about this is that they're always going to look the same, right? You have imagine a Python project, right? It's going to look very similar to that, right? You're going to have your definitions or your includes at the top, your import or whatever. In PHP, they're called use. And you are actually defining based on the space, and the namespace that you define for this one is called APP HTTP Controllers API. So you're including a bunch of stuff, right? So this one is going to have right on the construct. The construct is as soon as this class is invoked, automatically do this. And what it's going to do is it's going to load the LLM service. Automatically, so when this thing starts executing, automatically load the LLM service. Beautiful. We understand that bit. And then we have execute. Execute is what we asked the API, the system to create. Create an endpoint that executes a command that comes in via the API. I'm going to do a quick jump to the routes API, and you're going to see that there is a execute endpoint that was created. That execute endpoint goes directly to execute controller to execute, which is the what we're just looking at. So here's what's beautiful about this. Imagine that you are doing a migration and you are updating your system, right? So you create a second class. Let's call it execute controller 2, or second execute controller, or new execute controller, whatever it is. You write all of your code, and at the last moment, right before when you're making a change, instead of calling this class, you call your new class. With one change in the router, you automatically go to your new code. It's one of the beautiful ways to do code advancement and to do code A/B testing, etc. It makes it very, very powerful to do things like this. Things are not defined just because they're there. Things are defined because the router tells you that you can go there. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, so as soon as someone posts to /execute, we're going to go to the execute controller, to the execute function. Beautiful. It's actually even logging for us. Beautiful. It's going to check the token security. We ask for token security. This is actually an addition. I think that this is an example of the AI not doing things exactly the way that it should. This is an interesting thing. Because I understand Laravel, I know that this I shouldn't have to do. Laravel should be doing that security for me. So when I go over here to my route controller one more time, let's go to the API PHP, you will notice that there is a route here that is being passed through the middleware of Sanctum, but the execute route is outside of it. So there is a way to rewrite this so that this route is inside or automatically passed through middleware Sanctum. Actually, all I would have to do is take this line, copy it, and paste it here. Is that true? Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Oleg. Oleg is my PHP advisor. My PHP conciliary.
Nice.
Oh yeah, Robert.
So when I do this, I'm telling Laravel, just take care of this for me. I don't want to write code to verify tokens. You take care of the token for me. Boom, done. So at that point, I would not need this code right here. So the AI did a little mistake, but because we understand how Laravel works, we should know we don't need to do this because it shouldn't even launch this function if the token security fails. Beautiful. All right. Next.
But it needed this because you didn't have security.
Well, I just added it. Okay. I literally added it here. We're done. Boom. Let me save that. And then we can just literally just remove this out of existence. So we're already kind of changing the code that the AI wrote. This would work. This is one of the perhaps the most important point, guys. This code would work and it would pass test and it would be good for production and it would still be a problem. Why? Because in the future, if I expose a second endpoint And the AI doesn't make that token check, doesn't add that token code, but it doesn't put the route within the Sanctum authentication. I just have an open endpoint on my API that can be hit without security. So we introduced a small little thing that in the future could create a problem for us. And that's important, again, to understand this, right? So if in the future you start realizing something's going on, my endpoints are not going the way that they're supposed to go, what's going on? What's going on is that. Okay, so there's a little bit of validation. Again, that's another beautiful thing that Laravel has. It has this validation code. We literally just say, you know what? In my request, there should be a field called command, and that command should be a string and is required. It literally stops execution if there's no command. You can ask for phone numbers, email addresses. You can create your own validation. So in a lot of my projects, because we have forms that are exposed to the outside, we have forms that people fill out. Well, you know how bots love to fill out forms, right? It's like the one thing that they love to do. Fortunately, we have protections like CAPTCHA and things like that robots still cannot get past very effectively, especially because CAPTCHA continues to go forward, right? Heck, sometimes I can't get through the CAPTCHAs, but that's...
If you try creating a new account on GitHub, it is horrible.
So you can actually create your own CAPTCHA validator. There's even packets for it, but you could write your own CAPTCHA validator, and then all you have to do is just add it to your validate, and it becomes a part of your validation process. Wow. You don't have to do it every time. You just invoke it right here, boom, you keep going. Nice. All right, then next we're going to go through the devices. I'm going to say, okay, go ahead and cache all of the devices and bring them all. So this is actually a very, very cool and awesome optimization here. Device all is a call to the model. Basically says, give me all of the devices in the database. So the lights, the kitchen, the blah, 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 right? There's probably better ways to do it, but for this, the AI decided just load up all of the devices, but I don't want to be hitting the database all the time, so let's put them in the cache. So Laravel has a beautiful database cache that is super fast. So all of a sudden, I don't have to be hitting that database as often, because as long as the automatic checksum continues to be the same, I don't have to hit the database. So as soon as there's other events that write to the database, that checksum changes and it will reload them. It's beautiful, great. And then it's going to go, okay, result, we're gonna take that command that we already validated, and we're going to parse the command using the LLM service against all of my devices. So I'm going to send all of my devices, I'm going to send the command that was sent in, and that's going to return to me what device were they talking about. Okay, if there's no result, we are going to return a 422 error that says could not parse command or find device. Obviously, couldn't go forward, right? Yeah.
Line 38, why do you need devices, error, wall,
Yeah, I think the AI decided that it didn't want to send the devices object, but it wanted to send the device list. Okay. You could have passed, and it's a good question, you could have just passed devices. You could have just passed the devices object and let the other side, the LLM service, parse it and go through it. It decided to do it here. Okay. Honestly, if one of my developers did that, I would be okay with it. Like, I don't care either way. In my opinion, it's the same. All right, and then so at that point we have a result, and that result is going to give us the device ID. If we didn't have a device ID, we're gonna go with a 404 device not found. Great. We're gonna get the old status from the device list, and we're going to update it with the new thing that came from the result. Because the LLM is gonna tell us if the device should be on or off, right? For our little example. We're gonna log that information, and then we are going to, interesting that it decided to forget all of the devices here. It kind of destroyed the cache right away. AI problem right there. I would not destroy the cache immediately. I would just leave it be, but let's leave it there for right now. Okay, and then we're going to notify the new device in this state. So this is literally the brains of the entire operation, guys. This is the whole thing. What do we not see here? We don't see the model. So let's take a quick look at the device model. This is what the device model does. Look at that. It just tells me what are the fields and what are the possible casts. What can I change? I can make this active or not active, and I can fill the name, the type, and whether the device is active or not. Beautiful. That's it. Okay? The other thing we don't see is the LLM service. Look at this. It wrote the LLM service for us, which actually uses a URL that comes in from the configuration file. So if you have configuration inference on your production environment, you can define what that is. It may be an OpenAI interaction or a Gemini or whatever. But in our case, if this is empty, which it is because I didn't fill it up, I didn't create any configuration files, it'll be empty. It's going to default to just the LM Studio instance right here. So great. That works, right? Then we have the function parse command. What parse command does is it's going to create a system prompt. It actually wrote a system prompt for us. You are a smart building assistant. You receive a natural language command and a list of devices. You must decide which device to update and what the new status should be. Respond only with a JSON object containing device ID and is active, but it's a Boolean. If no device matches, return no. Beautiful. That's a great prompt, to be quite honest. And then it's going to show you, it's going to add the devices, all right? And then it's going to try to send that system prompt with the command, which was whatever was sent in the natural language. And then if the response is successful, it'll log that the response was received, and it'll tell us what it is, or if there was an error, and it just returns. And that's it, guys. That's the app, right? So as you can see, it was very easy for us to go through and figure out where the controllers are, where the models are, where the services are, where the database are. Look at this. Let's go through the database and let's go look at the migrations. So there's a few, one of the important things is Laravel usually starts with a few basic migrations. It creates a users table, a cache table, a jobs table. It creates some basic tables that it needs in order to function. But here is the devices table that we asked it to create. And look at this. It's not a MySQL command. It is just PHP code. It literally says, when you are going up, you're going to create a new schema called devices, and you're going to add these fields to it. When you are going down, you're going to drop that schema. What does that mean, up and down? It turns out that I can do and undo things with migrations the same way. All you have to do is tell PHP Laravel, PHP Artisan, migrate, and that means go up. Or you can say PHP Artisan, migrate, rollback, and it goes back one step. Or reset, and it goes back all the steps and redoes them again. So it makes it a very easy way to interact. And if you notice, again, it doesn't matter if it's MySQL, Postgres, Big Data, MariaDB, whatever other one you want to imagine, doesn't matter. It literally abstracts the layer completely away from you. You don't have to write queries on this. I mean, I don't think that many languages write queries anymore, but I think that the abstraction that Laravel gives you is a very, very clean one. Yeah, it's extremely, extremely powerful. All right. And then finally, we have our routes. If this app had front-facing pages, if it actually, because Laravel obviously can also serve to the front end. And that's another important thing. A lot of my apps actually are websites that have front ends. If you go to the opentaggroup.com, that's a Laravel app. It has a nice front end. What does Laravel use for front end? It cannot use PHP. PHP does not run on your browser, unfortunately. There's been a lot of attempts across the years to make PHP run on the browser, and
Facebook says they do.
Yeah, they did at some point, and it was insane. It was kind of crazy, and I think that they've gone back on that one. So the front end, Laravel ended up going in a very interesting direction. It took advantage of another project that was called Blade. So Blade is a pseudo HTML language that makes it very easy to mix in PHP commands with HTML generation. It makes it extremely easy and straightforward to understand. So you are actually generating good, compliant, excellent HTML from within your Laravel application if you need a front end. It's a templating system. Okay. Yeah, Blade is a templating system.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
And
right, because it normally wouldn't.
And then you can throw in other stuff. Right now, I think it used to use Bootstrap for beautification. Nowadays, I think it uses Tailwind and Alpine.js. But some of the apps that we've created use Node.js in the front end. They use React on the front end. It doesn't matter. That's one of the beautiful things. With the blading system, you can put any language on the front end, and it just works. So as far as integration goes, you don't have to care. You want to write good old HTML 1.0 from 1995? You can. I do not recommend it, but you can. If you want your website to be available in Netscape, you can do it. All right? Excellent. All right, so I guess it's test time, guys. We get to test this app. So obviously, this app needs a container, right?
What's interesting is, just real quick on
Yeah.
go back, it added some things on the same line in the migration, right? Line 15.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. This could be on the next line right here. Boom. This could be just like that. And this one could be just like that. Does PHP care? It does not. PHP is a very loosely typed language. It doesn't get mad if you forget a lot of things. It does get extremely mad if you forget the freaking $sign. The $sign and the semicolon. Those two things are how PHP knows what a variable is or an object and where to stop thinking that this is a line. Which is why you can put lines in front of lines, because as long as you separate them with semicolons, it just keeps reading as different. It's very similar to JavaScript in that sense, right? Yeah, Python is a lot more strongly typed.
It works.
What was that?
You can use semicolons.
You can use semicolons for lines in Python.
And scoping is by the tabs.
Yeah.
That's it. Otherwise, you could have done it.
Yeah, this one, the tabs on PHP are just for you.
Right.
They're so you are happy.
Yes.
It doesn't care. I could literally write the entire PHP file in one line. Just as long as you use semicolon. I don't even need to use spaces, guys.
Wow.
You can minify PHP in crazy ways. And there's PHP minifiers, just like there's JS minifiers that turn it into unreadable freaking code. I don't recommend it. You don't need to. It doesn't. It used to be a thing when we used to run in 64K memory, right? When it mattered. Now it doesn't matter. When you want more memory, just pay more money. It's not our money. It's our boss's money anyway.
Did it generate the seeder?
Yes, it generated the seeder. Let's take a look at the seeder, by the way. Yeah, good point. The seeder is this thing. Take a look. Device seeder, look at that. It basically just went in and run. It ran in a weird way, but whatever. It works. It creates a living room light, a kitchen AC, and a main gate. Okay.
Very good.
So this is awesome for testing, right? I don't recommend you use seeders in production unless you have specific chunks of data that you need to upload. For example, if you need to know what every zip code correlates to every city.
Absolutely.
You can just have a seeder for it. You put it as part of your migration. So when you deploy your app, it automatically loads all the zip codes to cities, and then you don't have to worry about it. And you don't have to go to whatever website gives you that, and it's one less call and one less piece of traffic you're generating.
But
On
one
the
of those CTOs that wants his name and all the accounts.
Yeah.
And his appropriate password.
Yep.
I know this.
All right. So let's take a look. So what I went to Docker, and I wanted to start my thingy, but let's just stop. There was another container running, so it's going to
Here
be.
we're using Docker for the database.
We're using Docker for the whole thing. Let me show you the Docker container. This is what Sail created. So Sail created a Laravel 1 test. This is the app. This is an actual server that runs the app. It created a mail pit system to interject email messages running on port 1025. It created a MySQL system, a MySQL database to connect to, and it created a Redis cache to run Redis if I wanted to have queue workers, right? So it did. Sail took care of this, guys. We didn't have to think about how to create a Docker container. We just defined it. PHP 8.3, this version of Laravel, this version of MySQL, this version. What should that be? That should be the version of your production app so that you can guarantee that it works. What is all that defined? There's a little file over here called...
Composer.
No, not the composer. It's going to be in the Sail, right?
That's it.
It's right here. Composer YAML is what's going to tell us what services we're going to create and what images we're going to use and what versions of Sail, what versions of MySQL, what versions of Redis, what version of MailPit, what database, all of that. So if you needed to adjust this to match your production, you just go and fix it right here and you're good to go. All right, the other thing that we need to do is start our LM Studio. So let me go into my server and see if we can get it running. Oh, I think it's running. Hold on. Since the screen is so tiny, I don't have any. Oh, no, I got to load a model. So let's run Let's do something easy. Let's run a little model. Let's run the GLM 4.7 Flash because it's faster. I was testing with the big Llama model with the predictive tokenization on the other one, and it's good, but this one just uses less memory, so it's going to dog down the computer a little less. Obviously, if you were doing something like setting up your open AI keys or whatever, that's what you would do, right?
Yep.
So this thing just lets you run all these models locally, essentially?
Yeah. As long as you have the memory for it, you can run it. And it runs, I can run 70 billion inference models here.
Because you have the memory space. Right?
I have the memory space for it.
Pretty small ones, pretty good. This is 16 gig memory.
Yeah. I'm trying to create the need for a better Mac at my job.
How big are the models on this?
They're completely crazy. The Claude 4.6 Opus is 1.5 terabytes. So 70B. I'm running they're tiny models. They're good, and this is what's crazy is people go nuts for the newest models because they're like, oh my God, they're so much better or whatever. The older models, the DeepSeek model that came out do you remember when DeepSeek came out and everybody freaked out because it was the end of the world? That model was fantastic. That model coded really good. Obviously, they code better now. The Opus 4.6 is even better at it than previous models, right? So obviously there's a progression, but it doesn't mean that you cannot use old models. They're still decent. And I'm using this little program called LM Studio, which is super easy, open source. There's another one called Olama that you can also get. It's very similar. You just load up the models from huggingface.com, which is kind of like a free website where you can download whatever models. As a matter of fact, with LM Studio, you don't even have to worry about it. Check this out. I can go over here to model search, and boom, these are all the models from Hugging Face, and I can just select the one that I like. Oh, I like Quen V3 3LB. It tells me how big it is, how many parameters, and I can just hit.
It'll fit on his computer.
Oh yeah, because it's a tiny model. This is a tiny model, and it gives me the button for the thing for download, and then I can just load it, and it's running. I'm sorry?
Yes.
What was the question? Sorry.
You can run it from an external drive.
You could run it from an external drive, yeah.
It's going to load it on memory. So yeah.
They don't use, honestly, your biggest limitator with a modern computer will not be your hard disk. It will be your memory. The models are not that big that will not fit on your hard drive, but they may be too big for your memory. And obviously, if you have a nice NVIDIA RTX with decent memory on your computer, then they will run even faster, right? But we are not rich people. All right, so it's loaded and it's running, right? Did it load? I hate that. I had to make the resolution so tiny. Yeah, it's ready. Okay, so let me go up so we can see when the model gets hit at some point. Yeah, it says just-in-time model loading active. I'm sorry?
Where'd you get the developer logs? You have the developer logs there.
The what?
The developer logs.
At the bottom, the logs.
Oh, the logs?
How did you get to in the...
Oh, I think that you have to tell the thing that you're a developer. There's one of the... It might be a switch over there.
It's on developer mode.
Yeah, you should have him. Maybe when it starts running, it will get a log.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's go back. Let's switch now back to our app. And since we're going to be hitting it, I'm actually going to be using a little RESTful tester, right? I have this little thing that just sends messages to the API. And as a matter of fact, because I am prepared, I already saved a post to localhost API execute that uses that little secret token that we created, right?
This is like your postman?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has some basic authentication, and the command that we are sending is turn off the kitchen AC. So without checking too much, let's just hit run and let's see what happens. Oh, we're gonna get an error here. So we got an error. Since we got an error, I'm gonna go visit localhost and see what happened. So we're having a connection refused. I think honestly the problem was when I started the Docker container, there was another container running, and that created a kind of a mismatch. So all we have to do is let's go into that Smart API AI, and let's do a Docker compose build. What I'm doing is I'm just going to rebuild that container because probably it had trouble building, right? There you go. Let's stop it for a second. Let's just do docker compose up-d and let's see if it can get it going. Yeah, it's definitely, okay, well, let's see if that solves our problem. No, we're still having a problem here. No, it's refusing the connection. It's not so much that the migrations didn't run. I'm just going to, I'm going to delete the whole, I'm going to delete the whole thing and I'm just going to build it again, okay?
No, but Hans, where's the database running? Is it in the Docker?
Yeah, everything is inside the Docker container. All right, I just recreated everything again. Let's take a look. It seems to be running. Let's see if that worked. Ah, we have it. All right. Let's see if now when I send my request, what happens. I'm still having a problem. What's going on? I may need to run the migrations because I haven't done it, right? Yeah, so let's go back, let's go here, and let's go ahead and say PHP artisan. Remember, everything in Laravel is a PHP artisan command, and this one is the one that says, go ahead and install my databases. Nothing to migrate, though they're all there. I'm going to use, yeah. Let's see if it's true. So we have our tables, we have our devices, and we have our devices. So it did run all the migrations. We should be working.
Don't you need to connect the LLM through the URL and API?
It's already available. As long as LM Studio is available at this address.
And the code is pointing?
Yep. It should be pointing to localhost. Let's go take a look at it, right? So let's go to anti-gravity. Let's go to the LLM service. This is very...
The LLM's not what's failing. The database is failing. I don't know if it got to the LLM.
No, it didn't get there yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing goes to... It has to use the Docker internal address, but that's where it's going. So
/v1, right?
it's correct. That's all good. If you look at this thing, API v1 models, API v1 chat, it understands what it's supposed to do. All right, let's try one more time. Let's actually see what the error was.
Need to turn on your debugger.
We might. We actually have a log. We could just look at the log, which we're being silly. Tail f storage logs Laravel. Let's figure out what it was. Let's actually run it one more time just so we get a fresh error here. Okay, so, oh, route login was not defined. Oh, I see what happened. We made a change and we didn't think about it. That sanctum addition to the route, I should have been more, I was a little bit irresponsible with it. I'm gonna remove it just for right now, just to see if that was a problem. Obviously, we can't leave it that way, but, okay, so it's running. Let's take a look at here. It actually says, yeah, it got a prompt, and it's processing it.
Nice.
And it just returned something, and we go back, it says could not parse command or find device. So let's see what the heck did this thing do. It says analyze the request. Oh God, it responded a whole bunch of shit. Look at that.
Instead of, well, it is JSON. It responded to JSON.
Yeah, it should have supposed to JSON. It should have only respond. Oh, that was the think. So no, that was fine. It should have responded. It responded with device ID 2 and it's active. So actually the AI, the app is having a problem understanding what that was.
Let's see it again. There we go. Oh.
All right. So let's take a look at what happened. So that is a problem on the service, right? It could also be a problem of the model that I'm using, to be quite honest. Yeah. If the model that I'm using, I think is returning too much stuff.
Yeah, I said it was JSON. Did you confirm it was JSON?
I think it's a ton of stuff. It's not just JSON.
Right.
So let's eject this model. Let's load this 70B EVA Llama.
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys have ever used the EVA Llama. It's the Llama without restrictions.
Oh.
So you can ask it how to make meth. Oh, or a bomb, sorry. Not that I've tried, by the way. Dear FBI. I'm not doing that.
That's what our team, the red team, that's what it has.
You have to use unrestricted models for sometimes, especially when you're running local. Restricted models are sometimes very difficult to deal with because they literally are just on eggshells the whole time. So getting an unrestricted model is usually very, very beneficial. All right, so we have the Eva Llama ready. Let's try this one more time and see if the problem was the model.
So you're saying there is someone out there right now who has restricted models? Oh yeah.
Oh, if you go to Hugging Face, you are going to see models for all kinds. There's text models like the ones we're using. There's vision models that are capable of inferring information from images. There's whisper models that can hear and convert that to knowledge. There are stable diffusion models, which are the ones that create images. There are multimodal stable diffusion models, which are the ones that create video, and you can get all of that. Now, the bigger the model, of course, the more difficult it is to run. So for the most part, on a commercially available little laptop like this one, you get to run big-ish text models. Doing image generation on a Mac is very difficult, and the images that you get are not great, right? It does. I've tried it. I actually did try to create some images of some. I wanted to do Smurfs doing a demonstration. I ended up just doing it in Gemini. I was amusing myself, by the way. It wasn't work. All right, so it ran, and if we look at the LM Studio, it actually understood, and look at this. It did the whole thing, blah, 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 blah. Now, these models particularly doesn't log the response. It just gives you, it just does the response.
Yeah, there it is. It did the change right there online. Device ID is active false.
Yeah, there you go. That was the content, yeah. And that was it. It only replied with the JSON, which is what we wanted. So the other model probably needed a more specific prompt or whatever. I didn't want to mess. You could spend some time messing with that, of course. That's going to be part of your fine tuning. So it came back and it says it wants to turn on the kitchen AC, actually off, because we asked it to turn off the kitchen AC. So it did everything that we wanted. It took that natural language, it turned it into a pair of device and state, and it returned that, and now the API went and did that change, and it returned that the AC has been turned off in the kitchen. And that was the awesome API little system that we created, right? So I guess one of some of the final takeaways that I want to make sure that we go through is, first of all, if you understand the code that the AI is creating, then you're not going to be fooled by the AI, right? We've talked about how less and less we are seeing developers are not checking the code, they're just sort of accepting that PR, and I think that's a direction and we cannot stop it. It's probably going to happen. But when, as I've said before, the proverbial poop hits the fan, someone's going to have to get in that code and understand it. And if you don't understand the code, you're going to be easily fooled by something that looks good, but it's not. If you understand the infrastructure, then the AI cannot bankrupt you. It's not going to, you should run everything on Laravel Forge on maximum level, which costs you like $70 an hour, It runs beautiful, it runs like a Maserati, but it costs like one, right? And if it's a little tiny app, it doesn't need that. You need to be on the driving seat of the infrastructure. You need to be deciding what resources to give to your systems and how to deploy them. If you understand your CI/CD, if you understand your deployment workflow and how everything needs to come together, then the AI cannot confuse the hell out of you when you think this should be in production and it's not, right? Because this thing was in a different branch, because this thing got broken up in my Jenkins workflow or whatever. Whatever workflow you decide, you design it. You could use AI to assist you to design the workflow, but you should never let go of it, because one day they're going to ask you for your credit card back. And so you don't get to have the Amex anymore because it's gone crazy. And you don't get to say, well, it was the AI, right? Now, if you understand all of those three things, guys, the AI is not going to replace you. At least not this year. Yes?
So yeah, today I would say, at least in my company, that's probably three separate people doing all that stuff. Yeah.
So,
Saying that's going to be one.
I'm not saying it's going to be one, but a lot of people are saying it's going to be one, and it's probably going to become less. So the part that I see, the signals that I see out there are that developers are going to be able to do more. So junior developers are going to come in with a different expectation now into the market. Someone that just got into that is just getting into the market as a developer, they don't need to know, their resumes are not going to say what languages they know how to program. It's going to be irrelevant, guys. Should they know it? Absolutely. Is it going to be said? Probably not, right?
The most important thing is one that we didn't think was important, PE.
Yep.
Not physical education, prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering. Knowing how to prompt and knowing how to revise what the AI is doing so that it's not fooling people. That's going to be what the skills are going to be. So, you know, you're going to be at a disadvantage over a developer that does know it. My point is, the focus is not going to be there, but the people that know it are going to have that advantage, right? It's like when you get your driver's, your commercial driver license, you don't have to know how to drive a shift gear truck. But the guys that know how to do it have an advantage over you.
Unless it's an electric car and a truck and then he's screwed. Then you're screwed.
Near the lights are going.
It does feel that way, yeah. It's running.
Is that like the Oscars when they're trying to tell you that you're done? Or? Yeah. All right.
But like you were saying, it's not a matter of whether it's 3 people, 2 people, or 1 people. Stop thinking numbers, start thinking letters. It shouldn't be 1, 2, or 3. It should be you.
There you go. That's a good one. I like that. It's not going to be 3 people, or 2 people, or 1. It's going to be you. You should be the one taking control of all of that.
Yeah.
Listen. So here's the thing, guys. We don't know where this is going. Everybody is predicting seismic changes in the industry. I mean, if you guys have been, again, if you're looking at Claudebot was absolute insanity for a month, right? I mean, it started, this guy that was a serial entrepreneur created this thing called Claudebot, and everybody started installing it, like, oh my God, the agents that now do stuff for you, and people started describing how much their development teams were now or little bots running on Mac Minis, and then next, the bad guys started putting tremendously horrible code to be downloaded as skills, and these small bots essentially started stealing everyone's crypto and everyone's API key. Basically, it took like 72 hours for it to turn into the purge. It's insane. It was absolutely terrible. And then OpenAI ended up hiring this guy, right? And they're potentially going to go. So I have actually played with an OpenClaw instance back when it was still called Claudebot, which was 2 weeks ago, by the way. It was interesting. It was a little insane. I was running it with a local model because I didn't want to start spending a lot of tokens. And one of the skills that I downloaded for it was an optimizer skill, basically saying, figure out how you can do better. I didn't give it hands to go and be better, but I said, just let me know. It wrote a very nice message and it sent it to me because I gave it an email address. It sent me an email saying, I need a better model.
Wow.
It said, you are killing me with this local shit.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It didn't exactly use that language, but it was very close. The skill was a little cheeky in its description, so it was kind of cheeky. And I was like, don't you have like an OpenAI key I can use? It's literally asking me for keys to. So it was pretty interesting, right? On the hardware that I had exposed with it, you can expose hardware virtually. One of the lines, and I didn't check, it was just there, it was a webcam. There was no webcam, but it was exposed as a webcam to it tried to open that webcam so many times. I don't know why it was trying to do that. It was very creepy. I think it was just trying to open up hardware ports or whatever. It's a little nuts. That's the thing. That's my point. It's kind of crazy. I think that OpenClaw is something that is definitely proof of concept. It's very interesting and it shows us what's possible, but it's not even V1, right? But there's going to be a V1 soon, guys. There's going to be a commercially available product very soon, where you're going to be able to go and put your credit card, and it's going to give you very clear cost, and you're going to be able to run AI assistants to organize your life, to do whatever it is that you want. You want you want it to write code for you. You just literally communicate with it via Slack. You give it the tasks. You go to sleep. You come back, and it's done. I've already done it. We already have this. It's just the people that you have a lot to put it together. I create issues in my GitHub repos, and GitHub automatically goes and fixes them, right? And it creates a PR, and all I have to do is go and approve it. No, check it, and then approve it, right? So we're already there. It's just there's still a lot of manual stuff. OpenClaw shows us that less manual is possible, and there's going to be very soon a version 1 product, probably developed by OpenClaw, but then surpassed by one done by Anthropic, that is going to literally be that powerful AI assistant for your grandma to do a lot of stuff. And it's going to be another purge, I guarantee it. Because you're going to learn on March 5th at my talk in Tech Hub Pulse that there is tremendous security holes with AI that need to be patched, and we need to understand them. So if you're interested, definitely come to Tech Hub Pulse on March 5. Damien also is doing a talk that day about the workforce basically now moving to AI, basically, which is, again, what's going on. It's going to be super interesting. I'm going to be there because my talk is earlier, so I get to go to your talk. No, we're not at the same time.
Oh, I thought you said it was. Oh.
No, I told you I was very happy we're not at the same. I'm in the morning, you're in the afternoon.
Yeah, okay.
So it's going to be very interesting. Mine is about security and how everything's going to blow up if we don't secure it very quickly, very fast.